Welcome back to Paul's Tech News. As the summer blazes on, one might anticipate a seasonal period of calm in the realm of PC hardware, but I caution you to not let your guard down, for it is amidst this very calm that YouTubers and other tech media, desperate for clicks and revenue-generating web traffic, debase and defoul themselves by resorting to the most unscrupulous means at their disposal. I refer, of course, to the ridiculously hyperbolic and overblown clickbait headlines, video titles, and thumbnails strewn across the internet with reckless disregard for the actual substance of the material, which is often the most banal tripe, like Threadripper pricing coming out, Nvidia and AMD being able to sell AI chips to China again, and Firefox detecting heatwave-induced Raptor Lake CPU crashes. We should be able to register this information with mild indifference and get back to doom scrolling, but instead we're faced with a relentless onslaught of overstatement designed to instill fear, amplify agitation, and falsely promote a reliance on the message bringer, which is why PC gaming and PC building will never be the same, and is doomed. But thankfully, you're here, and I would never do that to you guys. And also, I can save you from all that stuff too, because this is tech news, and everything's gonna be okay. Cheers.
Excellent!
Today's video is brought to you by Lexar. Their SSDs are the ideal storage solution for your next build. The NQ780 is a balanced drive that combines performance with value, offering impressive PCIe Gen 4 speeds as well as a single-sided design, SLC cache, and intelligent power control. The NM1090 Pro features blazing fast PCIe Gen 5 read speeds up to 14,000 megabytes per second, twice as fast as PCIe Gen 4. The NM1090 Pro also has a dual DRAM plus SLC cache and a 6nm controller to minimize heat output even under sustained workloads. Both drives are available in capacities up to 4 terabytes and come with a 5-year warranty. For more on the Lexar NM1090 Pro and NQ780 SSDs, click the sponsor links in the video description. Let us begin with the hardest of the hardware newses this week, AMD's official reveal of Threadripper 9000WX series pricing via a blog post on Thursday. As originally disclosed at Computex in May, these Zen 5-based workstation/prosumer CPUs will scale all the way up to 96 cores and 192 threads in the flagship Threadripper Pro 9995WX model, which we now know will cost $11,700 MSRP. Though per AMD, they'll initially ship in workstations built by regional system integrator partners as well as global OEMs including Dell Technologies, HP, Lenovo, and Supermicro starting July 23rd. If you're a poor person and can't afford the 96 core, there's a 64 core for $8,000, 32 core for $4,100, a 24 core for $2,900, and a 16 core for $1,650. Thankfully, the Threadripper 9000 CPUs are still socket STR5, so they'll work with existing WRX 90 and TRX 50 motherboards, with a BIOS update of course, and while the previous Gen 7000 series also went up to 96 core, they were Zen 4 based, and so AMD is claiming up to 26% more performance via their benchmarks, at least for the flagship. They also compared the 9995WX to Intel's Xeon W9 3595X, which it wiped the floor with pretty thoroughly. Kind of an unfair comparison if you ask me. The high-end desktop market overlaps pretty heavily with the workstation market, which has had the unfortunate effect of pushing prices up a lot, closer to the enterprise side than the consumer side, which in my opinion is why there's generally less enthusiasm these days for this enthusiast segment of the market. Still, it's fun to ogle, and these pricey WX CPUs should be joined at some point by the remaining true HEDT parts, with the X but not the W, the 64-core 9980X, 32-core 9970X, and 24-core 9960X, which might provide slightly more value to home enthusiasts who can't drop 10 grand or more on server-grade hardware, however drool-worthy the specs might be. And without the aid of 3D V-Cache, it's safe to say that these will not be optimal CPUs for a crossover system that can also do PC gaming. Although that's what Editor Joe does with his 7970X, so maybe he can give his feedback? Looks like it still works for gaming. Speaking of Intel offering next to no competition for Threadripper, let's talk about Team Blue next. Intel news remains dismal this week, alongside more rumors that the Raptor Lake refresh won't be very refreshing, with just bumped up clock speeds and nothing else. It's also now confirmed that the ongoing layoffs have topped 5,000 souls just in Oregon alone, causing concern about the impact the lost income will have on state funding for things like schools and public safety. Another interesting tidbit related to Intel struggles came to light via a Firefox devs post on Mastodon, though. Back in 2024, we covered Intel's Raptor Lake issues pretty extensively, as both 13th gen and 14th gen Intel CPUs were affected by the instability and degradation problems that took many months to figure out and mitigate as much as possible with BIOS updates and microcode patches. Still, there are many unpatched systems in the wild, and since Firefox collects crash reports that include system specs, they have some hard data documenting the effects of the summer heat on these PCs. Hotter systems are more likely to experience instability, so per Mozilla senior staff engineer Gabriel Svelto, if you have an Intel Raptor Lake system and you're in the northern hemisphere, chances are that your machine is crashing more often because of the summer heat. I know, because I can literally see which EU countries have been affected by heat waves by looking at the locales of Firefox crash reports coming from Raptor Lake systems. Svelto's team even disabled the crash report bot due to it becoming such a frequent issue, and in case you were wondering, the number one CPU affected was the 14700K. So one more friendly reminder to those of you on an Intel 13th or 14th gen CPU, update your BIOS. Speaking of updates, I guess, the US government has apparently updated its stance on Nvidia and their ability to export certain AI-capable GPUs to China. This actually affects AMD too, though, but as shared in an Nvidia blog post Monday, after Nvidia CEO Jensen Huang made recent visits to both Washington, D.C. and Beijing, the US government has assured Nvidia that licenses will be granted for their H20 Hopper data center accelerators to sell to customers in China. Do note that the H20 was already a cut-down chip whose die size is a mystery, and was produced specifically to slip in beneath US export restrictions that had been put in place, before those restrictions were expanded to include it, as well as AMD's similarly configured MI308 chip, which AMD says will also be resuming sales in China based on this news. What is less clear is how this will affect gaming chips. Cards like the RTX 5090 were also blocked by the ban, and so Nvidia made the 5090D, which was also banned. And then a few weeks back, I had way too much fun discussing Nvidia's Double Ds, aka the 5090DD. But not only is that gloriously named graphics card now being referred to as 5090D V2, which is just abominable, horrible branding if you ask me, but it might just be unnecessary. Unnecessary? Forgive my presumption, but I don't think anyone has ever claimed that Double Ds were a necessity. It's more about aesthetics and the joy they bring to the world. And yes, of course I'm still talking about graphics cards. As a matter of principle though, I think we should all be in favor of the 5090D getting the green light. Free the D sounds like a rousing battle cry to me. And hey, if they want to go ahead and free those Double Ds too, I won't complain. Speaking of things that just can't be contained, the remainder of the tech news was too much, and so it has been shrinkified into tech briefs. Valve made a change to Steam this week that I'm only going to lightly touch on, as I have a feeling it will develop further. Their updated rules and guidelines for game developers now prohibit content that violates rules and standards set forth by Steam's payment processors and related card networks and banks, or internet service providers. On one hand, this means a lot of adult-oriented games were just removed from Steam, which you may think is a good or a bad thing, but also much AI slop has been removed, which I think everyone will agree is nice. But on the other hand, this gives a lot of power to credit card companies, banks, and ISPs who are not usually known for level-headed arbitration when it comes to video game content that might be deemed controversial. Valve issued a statement after there was some backlash on this aspect of the changes, but it's mainly promising developers some app credits by way of compensation for games that were taken down. It's disappointing that Valve is passing the buck when it comes to this type of content moderation, and many who have chimed in with comments are now on alert to see if further censorship is forced down by Valve's payment processing partners. Peak nostalgia for PC gaming dinosaurs like myself was loading up Jumpman Jr. via a cassette deck on our family's Commodore 64 sometime back in the 80s. The memory is a bit hazy, but thanks to the efforts of the retro gaming community and Christian Perifractic Simpson, Commodore is back, and they're actually going to ship new models with a basic, an RGB, and a gold Founders Edition option up for pre-order, going for $300 to $500 each. The new Commodores run on an AMD RTX 7 FPGA that allows for full compatibility with the 10,000 plus original retro games out there without the use of emulation, and they've even added Wi-Fi support. They expect to start shipping units in October, so if you'd like to fire up Maniac Mansion or Bubble Bobble in the most legitimate way possible, you can find out more at commodore.net. Now, if you've wondered just how much money GPU manufacturers are making from high-priced video cards, consider that ASUS decided to pour 5 kilograms, or 11 plus pounds, of pure gold worth roughly $540,000 at current market rates into the shroud and backplate of this custom one-off ROG Astral RTX 5090. This gloriously gilded graphics card was spotted by RealVictor_M on Twitter as it was displayed recently at the Bilibili World 2025 event in Shanghai, China. And while this GPU certainly blows by the former world's most expensive gold video card, the ROG Astral Dahab Edition, in terms of raw material cost and heft, as it weighs in at 7.2 kilograms, so you better get a golden anti-sag bracket too, the Dahab still gets the aesthetic win given the rough finish the molding process left on the all-gold 5090. Kinda looks like a bad 3D print. I'm sure it'll buff right out though. And actually, a correction on peak GPU aesthetics, the true win in that category belongs to this GPU, the ROG Astral Hatsune Miku Special Edition RTX 5080, which you could totally pair up with all this other ASUS Hatsune Miku hardware if you wanted the best gaming PC ever. This 5080 actually costs double the MSRP of a typical 5080, but for once, I'm not going to complain about a GPU markup. Definitely worth it. But there you have it, guys, tech news for the week, and if you liked it, click that like button or leave me a comment down below. While you're down there, all of the articles that I talked about today are linked in the video's description if you're interested in reading more, and you can check out my store at paulshardware.net for high quality merchandise like t-shirts and hoodies and beer sets and more. Subscribing to my channel is always a good call too. Thanks again for watching, everyone, and we'll see you next week. Cheers!